Hello, you are listening to the Natural Healing Show for UK Health Radio. I'm your host, Catherine Carrigan, medical intuitive healer, Amazon #1 best-selling author. You can find out more about me and my work at catherinecarrigan.com and unlimitedenergynow.com. While you're there, definitely sign up for my newsletter so you can learn even more about how you can heal yourself naturally. Now, I've got a special guest for you today. It's me. I'm going to be talking with you today about how you can have a healthy relationship with your true self. Now, let's talk about how I sort of came to this. When I do my medical intuitive readings, people come to me for all kinds of reasons. They want to know what's actually going on with me. Why am I sick? Why can't I get well? I've been to 33 doctors of all kinds, natural and holistic, and I can't get well. Or they've got a special challenge that you may be dealing with that you can't seem to overcome. The most important relationship you will have in your lifetime is your relationship with yourself. All the other relationships that you have in your life are based on your relationship with yourself. So if you don't have a healthy relationship with your body, guess what? You need to go back and work on developing a healthy relationship with your true self. If you don't have healthy relationships with other people, guess what? You need to go back and work on your relationship with yourself. If you don't have a relationship with food, guess what? You need to go back and heal your relationship with yourself. If you don't have a healthy relationship with money, you need to go back and work on your relationship with yourself. So much of my work as a healer, as a medical intuitive healer, has to do with healing your relationship so that you can have a healthy relationship with your true self. Now, before I go into the dramas that you may be going through, let's talk about what does it look like to have a healthy relationship with our true self, because many people don't know what that actually looks like. When you have a healthy relationship with your true self, you show up every day as your true, authentic self. You accept your personal faults and take action where necessary to address them. So you don't pretend that you're perfect. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. So you accept that you're not perfect. But when something needs to be addressed, you deal with it. You basically like who you really are. You like yourself. You feel comfortable in your own skin. You allow other people to see who you actually are. So you're not going around hiding. You're not hiding who you are. You're not hiding your sexuality. You're not hiding your preferences. You can admit your weaknesses and maintain a sense of humor about yourself. So sense of humor is a good sign that you do have a healthy relationship with your true self, when you can laugh at yourself and have compassion for your humanity. You speak your truth with kindness and respect. You keep your word because you understand the power of personal integrity. You have a healthy relationship with food. You're not overeating or undereating. You're not on a constant diet. You naturally maintain a healthy weight. So having that healthy relationship with your true self helps you to achieve your ideal size, because you're not constantly starving or punishing yourself to look like something that you're not. You have a career that feeds your soul as well as your pocketbook, because when you have a healthy relationship with your true self, you know who you are, you know what your strengths are, you know what your weaknesses are, and then you go forward and you share those gifts with the world. You have a healthy relationship with money, so you're not overspending or underspending. You have savings, you have a plan, you're moving forward in your financial life. You maintain radiant health of mind and body, and you have a good mind-body connection, mind, gut, body, spirit connection. You know when you're tired, and you give yourself permission to stop when you're tired and rest, because after all, you're human. You stop eating when you're full, and you get appropriate help when you run into trouble, because nobody knows everything. I don't know everything. So you ask for help when you need it. You maintain consistent energy throughout the day. So if you're losing energy throughout the day, that may be a sign that you don't have a healthy relationship with your true self. You enjoy the physical pleasures of life, eating, sex, vacations, without guilt or remorse. You give yourself permission to feel all your feelings, including the uncomfortable ones, because emotions are just energy in motion, and we're supposed to feel our feelings, let it go through, and move on in our life. And you give yourself permission to feel even the uncomfortable ones, because you feel safe experiencing life, and you accept that you're human. You seldom get bored because you're engaged with life. You have a joie de vivre about you. You're mentally engaged in your life and your work. You welcome challenges as opportunities to grow. You're able to be real with other people. And this means not wearing a mask, not hiding how you feel or what you think. You can just be real. You're able to maintain healthy relationships with friends and loved ones. You've discovered your soul's purpose, and you're actively pursuing it. So you're conscious of that you're a soul, you're here, you're on fire, you're here doing what you're meant to do. You love your life, and you give thanks for all your blessings. You're able to forgive yourself and others easily, because you know you're human, they're human, we're all just practicing being human. You recognize that you create your own reality, and you take responsibility for what you create. And if there's something that you know you don't like about yourself or your life, you realize that you have the power to change it. When you fall down, you get back up. We all fall down. A lot of us have lost our ability to bounce back because we're so stuck in our stories, and we don't have that healthy relationship with ourselves. You seldom stay stuck. We all get stuck sometimes, that's okay, but then you get back up because you know who you are as a soul. You have the courage to evolve, knowing that the truth of life is change. If you watch nature, the only thing that's constant is change. You have so much love, joy, peace, and patience that you've become a light to everyone around you. So sounds like a tall order, perhaps, but if you really understand, it's these inner dramas that are going on inside of you that are holding you back from experiencing life in this way. Now, your relationship with yourself shows up in your relationship with your body, and it shows up in the illnesses that you may be experiencing. So that is why when I do my work as a medical intuitive healer, I frequently look at what is your relationship with your true self. All right, so let's talk about some of the dramas that may be holding you back. So the first one that I want to talk about is poor me. All right, so how do you know when your relationship with yourself is poor me? These are some signs. You're always talking about how busy and tired you are. So these are the people who need to read my book, Unlimited Energy Now. You feel life has done you wrong. So when you're in poor me, you're frequently stuck in depression, and you may do well reading or listening to my book, Banish the Blues Now. You feel other people really have gotten a better deal than you have. You search for opportunities to proclaim yourself as a victim. You are a victim of the government, your mother, your father, a political party you despise, strangers, diseases, the aging process, or any forces outside yourself, because you're not connected to your own personal power. So you view these forces as being more powerful for yourself, and then you go into poor me. And again, as I said, these relationships that you have with yourself will show up as illnesses. So poor me is frequently depressed. Poor me is frequently anxious. Poor me can be disconnected from your personal power. And when people go into poor me, when you go to the doctor and they give you a diagnosis, then you just accept it. You don't realize that you create your health, you create your mental health, you create your physical health. And when you're in poor me, you forget, gosh, if I get sick, you know what? I can make myself better. I can heal. People have healed from every disease or illness known to man. So if other people have gotten well, you can too. And part of healing is healing your relationship with yourself, so you reconnect with your personal power and get out of this poor me. You tend to give away your power, often without recognizing it. You blame other people or outside circumstances for why you are the way you are right now. You are absorbed with self-pity, and this is very low frequency energy. You never have enough time, enough money, or other resources, especially compared with other people, the lucky people, who definitely do not include you. What's really funny is the other day I met a gentleman, and he was born early. He was a preemie baby, and he always thought he was lucky. And he and I talked about this, and he said part of being lucky is to feel lucky and to keep telling yourself you're lucky. So when you realize that you are stuck in poor me, one of the ways to shift out of it is to shift into thinking about, why am I lucky? You're alive. So when you realize what a blessing it is to have a body in this lifetime and to be alive at this time on earth, then you can start counting your blessings and get out of this poor me. Also, when you're in poor me, it's usually somebody else's fault. You have no idea how to be happy. So you're constantly anxious and depressed, and you haven't taken full responsibility for the way you feel. You may not recognize your personal power. You may not know that you can feel better, that you can be happy, that you can heal whatever has come your way. Every time you think you're getting ahead in life, there's another disaster that knocks you back. So you have to understand that when your relationship is poor me, then you're constantly creating one disaster after another. And hopefully after a bit of that, you'll get tired of that and go, wait a minute, I'm really tired of being poor me. I'm tired of being sick and tired and broke all the time. It might be more fun to be lucky me and to have a healthy relationship with myself and to have a different experience of life. You spend a lot of time every day reflecting on what is wrong with your life. And whining is a normal mode of expression for you. So those are some signs that you may be stuck in poor me. Almost want to take a couple of breaths after that one. Now, aloof. So aloof is a really interesting one. So I've now at this point taught yoga for 29 years. And in yoga, we talk about mind, body, spirit connection. And when your relationship with yourself is aloof, another word for that is disconnected. You don't know how you feel. You're not sure what you think. You don't know when you're tired. You don't know when you're hungry. And when you have this extreme disconnection, it's very hard for you to take care of yourself in a proper way because you don't actually know what it is that you need. So when your relationship is aloof, here's some signs. You don't know when you're tired. You have no idea what you actually need to be happy healthy, or successful. You don't know who you are, and because you don't know, you're not connected. You're not connected to your soul. You're not connected to your body. And it can be really hard to find your life purpose, okay, if you don't know who you are. In order to find your soul purpose, you have to connect to yourself. You have to know who you are. You have to connect to the true, authentic soul that you are. You don't know when you're hungry, or you don't know when you're full. So you may have disordered eating patterns, either going long periods without eating or gorging yourself. You don't really understand what's bothering you. You have to wait until you go to the doctor to receive a horrific diagnosis to admit that you haven't been feeling well. You're ungrounded. You're not in your body. You don't have good proprioception. You don't know where you are in space. When you hear about this thing that other people talk about called mind-body connection, you don't really know what that means. You float along without connecting to the real meaning of your life. Another quality of being an aloof is you may confess to enjoying getting high. After all, it might be easier for you to be anesthetized. So you're taking drugs, legal or illegal, so that you can disconnect from how you really feel. You don't think you matter. And I just have to pause and say that if you're alive in this lifetime, there's nobody else like you. You, whether you realize it or not, you're already a VIP. You are a unique vibrational interference pattern. There's no one just like you. Your energy is unique to you. And you have to really grasp that fact that because you're alive and you're a unique energy, and that no one else is just like you, the world needs you. The world needs your energy, even if you don't really know what it is yet. You have a soul purpose if you're alive. You've given up on your dreams. So that's one thing that's very common in people who are aloof. You've just checked out and given up and thought, okay, I don't matter. I don't know why I'm here. I give up. You don't want to try in case you might fail. So it's easier for you to pretend that nothing really matters and that your life is meaningless. You have a hard, these are the people who take to drugs, legal or illegal, to get through the day. Because again, it's easier to be anesthetized than to connect to your feelings. You have a hard time showing up on time because you never really know what's going on. So your true feelings are just below the surface, but you aren't able to express them. And because you're disconnected from yourself, you may also be disconnected from your friends, from your family, from meaningful community, and for people who actually really care about you. You put on a facade rather than let other people know what you think or feel. You're bored with your life. You're bored with your career. You go through the motions to appear like you're fitting in, but you just don't care. You haven't discovered your life purpose, but then that's just a load of hooey anyway, you may be thinking. You can't go deep with your conversations. So again, it's really important for us to develop a good mind-body connection. And when you are more in tune with yourself, you can listen to the guidance of your soul. You can listen to and pay attention to what your body needs. So aloof can really be a major hindrance to mind-body healing. And with that, let's take a break and listen to a message from one of our commercial sponsors here at UK Health Radio. I'm your host, Catherine Carrigan, medical intuitive healer, Amazon #1 best-selling author. I'll be right back. Catherine Carrigan, medical intuitive healer, Amazon #1 bestselling author. I'm here today to talk with you about how you can have a healthy relationship with your true self. And the first step is to recognize the patterns that you may be going through. So we talked about poor me. Poor you. Me is usually depressed, anxious, and exhausted. We talked about aloof. Aloof. When you're in aloof, you have very poor mind-body connections. So you don't really know what's going on. So the next drama that you may be doing that may be holding you back is interrogator. All right. Now, when your relationship with yourself is interrogator, these are some of the signs. You may have very high ideals for yourself. In fact, you may even consider yourself to be a perfectionist. And your self-talk goes something like this. Why haven't I figured this out yet? So if you go to the doctor or a holistic person and they give you a diagnosis, you're like, why did I get that? You're very, very harsh on yourself. You harshly question everything about yourself without coming up with any good answers. Now, if your relationship with yourself is interrogator, it's possible that you're compassionate with other people, but you're definitely not compassionate with yourself. There's almost no self-compassion here in your talk. So it's like, again, why haven't I figured this out yet? Why am I not well yet? Why am I not at the ideal weight yet? Why am I not a millionaire yet? Why don't I have the perfect partner yet? You think when your relationship with yourself is interrogator, you think you should have figured everything out already, rather than realizing that life is in a journey. Life is unfoldment. Life is a mystery. You think that you should have all the answers already, okay? And that it's okay that if other people are confused, but not you. You're not supposed to be confused. You're supposed to know everything, for gosh sake. It's not okay for you to get help because you should already know what you're doing. After all, you're supposed to know everything. And if you get sick, these are the people who try to fix everything themselves rather than going to experts who do this every day, who may be an expert at healing the challenges that face you. You should yourself to death. You think you should do this, you should do that. Woulda, shoulda, coulda. Would, should, and could are primary words in your vocabulary when you talk to yourself. I should do this. I should have done that. You know, I could do this, and I should be doing that. You make yourself feel guilty all the time. And every time you start to enjoy yourself, even if it's just a little bit of pleasure, you feel guilty about it because maybe you should be doing something else. And again, if you listen to this, it's self-attack. So anytime you have an autoimmune disease in the body, you need to, so for example, Hashimoto's thyroiditis is a great example of this. Hashimoto's thyroiditis is an autoimmune disease. And it's, if you think about your fifth chakra, your voice, and your self-talk, when you're constantly telling yourself what you should do and what you should have done, you're verbally or mentally, emotionally attacking yourself with your own thoughts. So if you are suffering from any kind of autoimmune disease, then I strongly encourage you to ask yourself another question, which is my relationship with my true self interrogator? So you blame yourself for past mistakes, since after all, it's not okay for you to make mistakes. Other people can make mistakes, but definitely not you. You've internalized a harsh parent. So this is quite interesting because many people who I have worked with have been abused as children. And even when their parent is not there to verbally or emotionally abuse you, you may have internalized that pattern and you abused you. The parent's not there to abuse you, but you keep abusing you. So you've internalized a harsh parent, and that think also that the solution to any problem must be really, really hard, rather than, healing's easy. Healing is a return to wholeness. You participate in the cult of difficult, the largest cult in the world. So when you're participating in Interrogator, then very often these are the people who go on harsh regimes. So you can't just adopt a healthier way of eating. You've got to fast for 30 days. You've got to go on some really extreme diet. So no wheat, no sugar, no this, no that, no fat, no fun, no alcohol, because you can't just find that middle way, and it's got to be hard for you. So if you're not doing something the hard way, in your mind, if your relationship with yourself is Interrogator, it probably won't work, because everything has to be hard for you. You don't trust yourself, and this is a big one. And therefore, because you don't trust yourself, you have a really hard time trusting anybody else. You overthink everything. So your mind, your self-talk goes in mental loops that never stop. And it's like, why haven't I figured this out yet? I should have figured this out yet. And so on. And you basically drive yourself crazy with overthinking. And when you go through this very harsh self-talk and this harsh overthinking, you may even convince yourself that something is seriously wrong with you. You worry too much, especially about whether or not you're doing things the right way, without whatever that is, rather than asking for guidance about what's the easiest healthy way for me to get well. When you make a mistake, which we all do, you ruminate about how you could have done everything better, because again, after all, you should have had this figured out by now. And even though it may be okay for other people to not be perfect, you wonder deep down why you can't be perfect, because you've got to be perfect. Other people tell you that you're too hard on yourself, but you don't actually agree with them. So those are some signs that your relationship with yourself is Interrogator. Now, I want to talk about the next one, which is the next relationship with yourself that's very similar to Interrogator is actually Intimidator. So when your relationship with yourself is Intimidator, then you're constantly bullying yourself. So very, very similar to Interrogator, but you're basically bullying yourself, and you're making yourself wrong. You're feeling like you can't do it right. And when your relationship with yourself is Intimidator, once again, you may have internalized a harsh, abusive parent. So if you have a history of abuse and you've never formed a healthy, loving relationship with a parent, that may be one of the reasons why you have not yet formed a healthy relationship with your true self. Now, as you go through and examine these things, another relationship that you can have with yourself is you may be stuck in Saboteur. So when you're stuck in your Saboteur, every time you start to get ahead, you find a way to mess things up. So you start to get healthier and you completely throw a wrench into the works. Okay, you stop going to the person who's actually helping you. You stop following the eating plan that's working. You're psychologically reversed about yourself, about success. So when you're in Saboteur, psychological reversal happens when part of you wants to be successful and part of you doesn't. So you're not in complete alignment with yourself about wanting to be healthy and wanting to get clean and off the drugs and the alcohol and wanting to be successful. If your relationship with yourself is Saboteur, and many of us have experienced this, if you start a diet, you can't keep going on one for more than a few days or more, even more than a few hours. If you start an exercise program, you find a way to injure yourself, or you get so busy that you can't continue. You don't show up to the people and appointments who can actually help you. You tend to find the people and situations who will derail your career, steal your money, stomp your heart out, and make you miserable. If your relationship with yourself is Saboteur, you may have the word sucker written in invisible ink on your forehead, so other people instinctively know they can take advantage of you. You don't take care of your money, your personal possessions, or opportunities. And deep down, you may actually be afraid of success. So those are some signs that you may be stuck in the pattern of Saboteur. And another relationship with yourself that may be holding you back is you may be stuck in child. Now, when your relationship with yourself is child, you prefer when other people are in charge. You let other people make the big decisions. So when you get sick, you go to the doctor, and rather than discussing with the doctor and other experts and holistic and traditional and getting all points of view and then deciding in yourself what's right for you, you abdicate your personal responsibilities. You can't think for yourself. You want other people to tell you what to do, and your feelings are easily hurt. Now, what I do as a medical intuitive healer, when someone is having difficulty in a specific area of your life, let's say you have trouble with money, for example, I will figure out how old you are when you deal with money. All right. So if you can be in your adult self, for example, you can usually make better decisions with money. Or when you're having trouble with food, are you eating as a child? If you're eating as a child, you're going to always be wanting to eat kid foods. You're not going to be wanting to nurture your body with what it needs, what it really needs, because you're too busy feeding your inner child. So when your relationship with yourself is child, that is a major factor that can derail your financial success, as well as your physical, mental, emotional healing, as well as, of course, your personal evolution and your spiritual evolution. So when your relationship with yourself is child, deep down, you actually believe that you're too fragile, okay? I did an entire program here at the Natural Healing Show about 4 highly sensitive people. I'm a highly sensitive person, because if you are a highly sensitive person, you have to become strong enough to handle your sensitivity. So your body is actually pretty resilient. I mean, people can get arms and legs cut off and still participate in Paralympic events. You can heal from almost any illness. All right. It's just a matter of learning how and figuring out how to do it. But if you think you're too fragile and you're stuck in your child, again, you're not in your power. And when you're stuck in your child, you tell yourself that you're incapable of figuring things out. All right. And if you're listening to me on this broadcast, then you're smart enough to have found me, and you're learning how to take better care of yourself. So when you're in child, you go around acting like you're helpless. You don't take the time to figure things out, right? So you may be impulsive about things rather than thinking, all right, I maybe you have a new diagnosis that you've never heard of before, and yet you can learn about that. If you have a digestive issue, you can learn about how to take better care of your digestion. Or if you're having challenges with fertility, you can learn how to take better care of your hormones. Or if you're having trouble with your weight, you can learn how to balance yourself more easily. So when you're in child, if when in doubt, you just go into a temper tantrum or cry for hours, and it's okay because you think it's okay to get stuck in your feelings. And you may be living on junk food and other fun foods. So once again, the 4 primary dramas that show that you don't have a healthy relationship with yourself are Poor Me, Interrogator, Intimidator. And Interrogator, Intimidator, there's a lot of similarities there, but there's lacking in compassion. Aloof, when you don't have that good mind-body connection. Child, Saboteur. Now, as you're listening to this, you may think, I do a really good job with my taking care of my body, but when I'm dealing with money, I act like a child. Or when I'm dealing with food, I'm in my saboteur. So one of the things that you can do as you're listening to me in this broadcast, if there is an area of your life that you're having trouble with, ask yourself how you show up in that area. When you deal with, when you think about your mental health and your outlook on life, are you in Poor Me? When you think about your money, are you in Aloof? Like, well, that's going to get figured out someday, somehow. It's all going to happen through magical thinking. When you're dealing with a back pain, for example, do you go into your child and just want to stay in bed and feel sorry for yourself and let somebody else deal with it, rather than maybe learning some yoga exercises so that you can learn how to strengthen your back or learn how to stretch so you don't have to be in pain? And when it comes into relationships with other people, let's say you're going out dating, are you in your saboteur? So that when somebody starts to enjoy you or like you, do you then go around and sabotage that? So you can look at different areas of your life and notice how you're showing up. Now, more than likely, what happens is we tend to be doing one pattern more often than the other. Although it is possible for us to be doing all of these patterns in many different areas, usually we're doing one or the other. So how do you go about having a healthy relationship with yourself? So I have, at this juncture, I have 31 years experience in natural healing, and I do healing work with people all over the world. And one of the things that I work with is to help you to have a healthy relationship with your true self. So how do you go about having a healthy relationship with your true self? One of the first steps that you need to take in order to have a healthy relationship with your true self is to actually understand who you really are. So how do you understand who you really are? So these are some ways that I use. I use body typing. There's a wonderful system developed by Dr. Carolyn Mine, and there's 25 different body types. And everyone has different drives. So you may be mentally driven, emotionally driven, spiritually driven, physically driven. So understanding who you are, the Enneagram, Myers-Briggs, and really understand, as you understand who you really are, then you can begin to connect into your true soul purpose. So when I do my medical intuitive readings, one of the things that I do when I'm doing a soul reading is I figure out where you are in your soul evolution. When you're born, you're unconscious. And what do I mean by that? You're alive, but you haven't remembered that you're a soul and that you have a purpose. So you're just living and following the rules. And then you go into a process of awakening. And when you're in a process of awakening, you begin to learn about who you really are. And then you begin to realize that you are a soul, despite all these personality issues that we may have, and that you have a purpose for being alive. And finally, when you know who you are and you know what your soul purpose is, then you're conscious. It's like, all right, and that can be when things get really fun, because then you're living your life on purpose from your true authentic self. So there are different practices that help us to have a healthy relationship with our true authentic self. Mind body exercise like yoga, like walking in nature, like Tai Chi, like Qigong, help to ground us into our bodies and help us to remember how we're really feeling and help to connect to the magnificent vibrational interference pattern, the magnificent VIP who you already are. And as you begin to have this healthy relationship with your true authentic self, then you can have compassion for any challenges that you're feeling, that you're going through. You can eat in ways that are nurturing for yourself. You can feed yourself on all levels, okay? Just because you're eating healthy doesn't mean you can't be feeding your inner child at the same time. So you can move in ways that actually heal your body and restore your energy without pounding yourself into the ground with punishing exercise. And you can talk yourself through challenges by using positive self-talk and by looking for your blessings. And if you look around, there's always helpers. You're never alone. There's always angels around you, and there are other human beings around you who may recognize and see the true authentic self that you are, even if you can't see it yourself. I was talking just recently with someone who's high in the psychic gift of clairvoyance, and she's able to see other people's auras. And we were talking about that. And I said to her, well, a very simple way to use this gift is to ask your highest guidance to see other people's spiritual light. And when we're connected to our true authentic self, then you're connected to your own light, because only light can drive out darkness. And when you are connected to your true authentic self and your own inner light, then you can shine that light, and you can be a light to yourself and a light to everyone around you. And when you connect to this divine inner light that you and you alone can shine, it's an effortless experience. You're not pushing, you're not shoving, you're not trying to correct or scold or proselytize. You just simply shine the light of your true authentic self. And from that light, you find your way in all challenges of life, and other people find it easier to find their way. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Catherine Carrigan, medical intuitive healer. You can find out more about me at catherinecarrigan.com and unlimitedenergynow.com. And remember, if you are having challenges with your health, with your money, with your relationships, one of the places to begin to heal is to look at what is your relationship with yourself in this area, and do the inner work to find that healthy relationship with your true authentic self. So as we conclude, remember, the world needs your light. The world needs you to show up as your true authentic self. And when you show up as your true authentic self, you begin to heal yourself naturally. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.